everyone, and welcome back. So let's go ahead and get right into some time lapses, right into some good music for you guys, and I'll be right back with you after that and discuss some of the really awesome things that happened this week. So yeah, things are starting to wrap up real nicely, and it's getting exciting, so let's get at it. Into the bathroom we go. Now, don't mind my mess. I have tools setting out because, of course, I've been working on things. However, this is where I've gotten so far. We have all this beadboard done. We have this trim on this door. There's a plinth block that you guys saw me hand make. And the rosette up top. This is that reclaim piece of trim I found last week. And I have some electrical in, as you can clearly see. Now, of course, nothing's actually hooked up. This is just the lines I had to run to be able to get the rest of this beadboard up. Basically, everything else that has to be running here has to be run through the basement over to the panel. And next week should be able to hook that up, no problem. Of course, that depends on if my grandfather has anything going on or not. But I haven't checked in with him, so I need to know what's going on with that. But we should have power next week. I am super duper happy about how this came out. My seams are basically perfect. I ended up with a perfect 90 there somehow because the walls are actually not at a 90. They're at a 92-degree angle, so it means they slightly splay out from one another off of a 90, which means I had to take some special consideration into cutting the top cap, which I'll be doing in the time lapse you guys will see next. But of course, before we do that, a few more things to discuss. This trim piece came pretty dirty to me. It still has some minor imperfections, but it is the exact same piece of trim that's here in the house. So that's really, really cool. I'm wondering how many other houses in the city actually had this style of trim. Of course, once the knife is cut, I imagine they ran more than just for this house. So I'm wondering, I'm wondering where this came from. Again, it could be from my house, but I mean, who knows? Love the little pretty rosette up there. It's looking real nice. Stripped up. I did do a little bit of wood filler on it. That's what that cloudy, dusty stuff is on it right there. But it's looking pretty good. And I should be able to get that next piece of trim in up here. Maybe tonight, maybe not. I don't know. It's not really the area I'm particularly focused on. So rather happy with how this came out. I have to say I've kind of impressed myself with how nice this ended up looking, considering I did this mostly by hand. You guys saw it in the video a little bit, but so I can explain how I did this. I took a router bit and went through here. It's a curved over or a cove bit that I coved out this and then this top bit here. Routed this area here flat and then rounded over from here to here and from here to here. So that's how I ended up with the shape. So here at the side you can kind of see the profile of it. Considering this started life as 2 pieces of wood, I'm quite happy with it. You can sort of see the seam here. This was actually the door frame from the butler's pantry, or part of it. I've been using that wood to patch up a lot of things in here, and so this stuff has been rather handy. And the door frame itself is actually looking pretty good as well. I do have a problem slightly right here. This piece of wood here was all kinds of beat up, so I had to glue it all back together. And once I put my screws through, it's not super happy. These are trim screws, so they have really small heads on them. So I basically was able to throw them through about the same size hole as the original nails, so it won't look too out of place. On this frame here, or this piece of door frame here, I know a lot of you guys were saying that my repair on this side wouldn't hold, so what I did is actually routed out another bit of this and stuck another block of wood in there, so it's got more grab to it because the hinges have to go in that. And so I took heed of your guys' warnings there and kind of repaired that a bit more. So these should be really sturdy. Did the same thing on the bottom, and those are looking nice. And at the very beginning of the time lapses, you guys saw me put these windows in. I got this frame all done, the windows back in, the glass looks absolutely amazing, and they open, they work. Now, of course, I do need to put like some handles or something on here, potentially probably put a lock here as well. I did not waterlock these are just purely shellac and paste wax, but I think they look really nice, and of course the feel of the wax on the wood and the glow it gives, I really enjoy. It feels really good, you know, on the hand, so quite happy with that. But let's go to the other side and I'll show you what the glow looks like. So yeah, it's a bit bright in the kitchen, so it's gonna kind of outshine this, but you can kind of see the colors going on here. So definitely if somebody's in the bathroom or the lights are on, you'll know. And then, you know, if you need to air it out, there you go. It's the perfect way to air it on out. So I've got just a few hours of light left. I'm gonna go ahead and put the top cap on, or as much of that as I can get done, and try to use up the last little bit of beadboard I have hanging out, because I'll need just a little bit more, just a few boards. And basically I'll use my power tools for as long as I can. Again, let's, you know, be kind to your neighbors. Don't run power tools at 2 a.m. sort of thing. Although I would. If I was in the middle of nowhere, I'd work all night. But, you know, you have to deal with the limitations you're given. And, yeah. So, I'm going to get to this. Like I said, only a few hours left. So, let's get going. All right, so we have gotten to the point where I have to stop the night. So I've actually got quite a bit done this week. You know, every one of these pieces of wood, all these boards, all this stuff, they all need so much prep work, and I know I don't show as much of that prep work as I probably should. I know a lot of you guys have worked on old houses and stuff before, and for those who haven't, the difference in time for new material versus old material, it just takes a lot of time to get these reclaimed materials back into a state where they can be used again and loved again. So, you know, there's a lot of dedication to each little piece, and so it takes time, but I'm really happy with my results. So I'm gonna stop blabbering. Let me show you guys what we got. So I'm gonna start off in this corner here, which is the corner with the door. That's actually the front door there, so back down the front hallway. But I've got the rosette in, which you guys have already seen, and then I've got the top cap, or chair rail potentially might be the right word for it. I've got that in. It wraps all the way around the room. But the way this corner looks, I mean, this is essentially, this part of this room is complete. Or very, very close. Obviously, I need the electrical, but not a whole lot more is going to go on here at the moment. Potentially a towel rack here, or maybe on this side. I think probably there's better, because you can wash your hands, turn the light off, and walk out the door. I think it makes the most sense. One of the reasons I was so excited to be able to find this piece of trim, a piece of trim long enough to be able to make this piece, is because this cap material was actually designed to fit in here. So the pattern, you know, give it a little shadow. So the pattern right here, as you can see, you can see the shadow of it. There's a line here and a line here, and that's curved over. It's actually mimicked here. These two pieces actually match. And I wanted to do this way for one major reason. Because there's examples of it all over this house. At least, well, not all over, but in the bathroom and the kitchen have this exact same pattern. This is the kitchen here, dining room here. Yes, I don't have lights in there yet, so it's very dark. But you can see these are at a 45 here. A little bit cleaner than my cut, I have to say. But the way these trim together and give it that angle is really awesome, I think. And so, because I was able to find the exact same piece of trim that this is, reclaimed, got really lucky there, I was able to do this, which really makes me happy, because that's the original way it would have looked. Even though this room would have never had this trim in it, or at least I don't think so, because it was the butler's pantry. But I'm glad I can keep this style going throughout the house. It makes things consistent. It looks like it was made by the same people, which is, I think, a really, really important thing. It just, you know, the aesthetic is cohesive. And the more cohesive I can make this, the more it looks like one builder. Again, I'm not trying to inject too much of my own personality into this build. I'm trying to give the house what it wants, what it needs, what it asks for. And that is a really good example of that, and I'm really, really happy with it. Although unfortunately my cut wasn't absolutely perfect. I was about a 1/16 of an inch off from being absolutely perfect. But with walls so not straight, it is really difficult to get those absolutely perfect cuts. Another example of that is this corner, and actually the other corner as well. The tops meet beautifully, but I wasn't able to get the bottoms to hit exactly. And again, it's because the walls are ever so slightly wonky. In fact, this is not a 90-degree angle. It is a 92-degree angle. And in this corner here, you can see where I have a bit of a gap. Again, not much, maybe 1/8 of an inch here at the bottom. But you know, things are just tilted ever so slightly. So now let me take a step back and show you what the bathroom is really going to look like when you walk into it. Now that I've got a bit of detail here, I think it's starting to really, really look good. So obviously you guys saw the electrical that I've been doing here. This isn't hooked up. This is more of a template sort of thing, but I drilled holes in there to make sure everything would hold and that it wouldn't do anything with the glass shade, to make sure it was stable. So yeah, and I'm sure a few of you guys are gonna give me some slight negative comments about that. You can see the glass move a little bit, but when you're in the bathroom, you should be slightly careful, because there's no other way of getting a medicine cabinet in here. Potentially at some point I might switch this out, but for right now it's perfectly reasonable. I do have to kind of use this as my main bathroom right now, And this is something that I've had for a while. And I really do like the piece. It's just a little squashed, I suppose, in such a small little bathroom in here. But if we're talking about aesthetic purposes, it's absolutely beautiful. Like, I just love the way that looks. Like, the whole look of the room is really coming together. Like, the sink was such a major step. And to have the top cap on, like, what I've seen in my head for so long, I'm able to now share with you guys. Be like, hey, look, this is what I meant. So it's just really, really cool. These lights, too. Let me take the shade off here. He's kind of just hanging out. I have started the whole rewiring process. I've only got the fixture here on it, but you can see these are like the little candle style ones. I was actually over at the guy who gave me the tile, the green tile that was stolen from my mantles. The guy that gave me that stuff back. I was over at his house, and he's like an antique lighting dealer and antique furniture. He's got amazing stuff in his house. His house is basically a museum for like Victorian furniture. But that's beside the point. Most of the sconces in his house that were wired for this use these little candlelight style ones. So since these are supposed to be gas, you know, with gas fittings, I wanted to use what he used because it makes the most sense, I feel. His house is actually particularly dark, so I think this will give me the correct look, but I will be putting them on dimmers as well, so I can get a little bit extra light in here if I need it. I also feel like I might wire up an outlet down here as well, and for those who don't know, this has like a little bump out. You can obviously see it bumps out, and surrounding the window, it kind of bumps out a little bit as well. So within that area, because it's pushed back so far, I do plan on building a little cabinet system here. Well, actually with the same glass that's in the windows up here. That way we have a place to store our toilet paper and soap and all that stuff. Since we don't have an area underneath the sink because it's not on a cabinet, this is a good solution, I feel. And I might wire up an outlet inside that cabinet, so potentially I could put a lamp up on this, a small lamp or something like that. Or just, to have an extra little bit of electricity in here, I suppose. But I don't have to actually do that right at the moment, because as you see, there's a piece of drywall back there. And because there's a piece of drywall back there, I will have to replace that little section anyways, and that's right where a outlet would go anyways. So I'll have access to that from the back. And I typically use old work boxes on this beadboard because they, you can kind of stick them wherever you want. You don't have to worry about studs. So yeah, that's the whole plan with all of that. Also wanted to give you guys, well, a somewhat choice this week. I'm having a slight dilemma with kind of an odd thing. That odd thing being toilet paper holders. I have 3 here, and I'm going to list them as option A, option B, and option C. Now I do have a clear favorite here, and I'll explain why it's my favorite. But as always, I want to hear you guys' opinions. So starting off with option A, we have this brass one with a little lid that kind of goes over the toilet paper, so obviously lowers as the toilet paper runs out. It's a pretty little thing, probably from, I don't know, 20s, 30s, something like that. It's got a wooden dowel there for the toilet paper itself. It looks like it would be a bit clumsy to refill this, because I think you have to actually unscrew this, take that thing out. So 2 screws, put the toilet paper on, screw it back on. So maybe cumbersome in that aspect, but then again, things aren't about convenience in this house, they're about aesthetics, or at least appearing to be the right era. So that's what it looks like against the beadboard. This wouldn't be the area it would be going, but to give you an idea of the colors at play here. So option A. Option B is this piece here, which is definitely got a lot going on, a lot more ornate. This is also a modern reproduction. It is also bent. Odd how all of the antique items that I get in the mail make it intact. And of course the brand new one arrives broken. Funny how that works, huh? It also has some kind of polyurethane or whatever, and it's got this very faux brass, antique brass look to it, which I'm not a huge fan of. The actual like piece itself I think is cool, but it would need a lot of work to be, I don't know, functional for me in this room. But here is option B against the beadboard, which I think does look pretty good, if not being maybe a bit over dramatic for this room. So option B. Now for my personal favorite, option C, which is this little, what is it? AFW Paper Co., Albany, New York. It's got these little hands that hold up the toilet paper. I think it's really cool. It's simple, it's kind of plain, but it's kind of funky too with the hands, and it just screams Victorian era to me. Of course, that would make sense because this is the only one I believe that's actually somewhat contemporary to the house. The patent is for April 1884. I think this is April 15th. So 1884, house is completed in 90. You guys get the picture. This actually makes sense for the house. And I think with the room and the aesthetics, it kind of looks the best. You know, against the beadboard and everything. You know, no fancy frills and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. I really like it. So that would be option C. And to be honest with you guys, the little bit of research I've done for toilet paper holders, toilet paper seems to be, I mean, it kind of existed back then. Obviously, we have the one from 1884. It existed in some way, shape, or form. But I remember looking at like Sears catalogs and stuff during my research and seeing things in like the 20s and 30s being like splinter-free toilet paper. And I'm like, was that really a big problem before this? Like splinters in your toilet paper? That sounds really awful. So who knows? Maybe the 1884 one had some toilet paper on it originally that was not splinter-free, which is a horrifying fact to find out. That's one thing we probably will never be using in this house, will be Victorian toilet paper, because I definitely like my toilet paper splinter-free. So those are the options, guys. Let me know what you guys think about them in the comments. I'm mildly torn. I definitely have my favorite, but let me know what you guys think. You know, curious to know your opinions, so look forward to reading those in the comments. So next week is definitely the week where the rest of the beadboard goes up. I need a little bit more, maybe like 2 boards. Luckily, because I've done most of the room with new stuff, it's easy to just go up to the store, pick up a few more boards. I don't have to go to drive to Peoria or something like that and try to find some more old growth stuff. So that's convenient for sure, and a lot easier, of course. The door will be back on. I'll get the rest of the trim around the door done. Might even start working on the shelving unit, at least the bottom of it. I talked to the tile guy this week. We'll probably have electrical in here, and we'll stop having such harsh lighting with my work light. Although it might be a bit dark in here after that. And if all goes well, who knows? Maybe the tile's in next week. Maybe I'm starting to put the toilet in, or at least hanging the tank on the wall, getting the pipes all figured out. Oh, we're close, guys. I know I kind of say it every week, you know, but every week we're a step closer. And yeah, it's kind of really getting exciting because it's one room that's really kind of coming back together. It's cool to be able to walk around in here and I don't see insulation or plaster or lath. I see a room. And that's getting really exciting. Now, if we can get the room on its own power, standing on its own legs, with all of the water functioning, oh man, it's going to be great. So, you know, we'll hopefully that's what all happens next week, and I'll definitely see you guys then. As always, thank you very kindly for watching us and supporting us and just being awesome people. We really, really appreciate it. So have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you guys again Monday. Take care and bye-bye.